back to Bread and Butter, everybody. We're serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement in episode 90. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host Tito Santana. Tito, how are you doing today?
Doc, I'm doing pretty gosh darn good. And we have somebody special today. We have the opportunity to have them on their first ever podcast.
Hey. Yes, everyone, we have Pace. No, you're good. Pace, how are you doing?
Hey, wasn't sure when to jump in there. I'm doing great. Happy to be here. I've been listening to this podcast for like a couple weeks now, ever since I was introduced to it by Tito. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I'm shilling my own podcast. I never.
Well, thank you for listening. So, Pace, what have you been doing in Hearthstone?
Recently, not much. I've been practicing for THL every week. That's been going good, but at this point, I'm kind of just looking forward to the mini set. Want to play with some new cards right now.
Yeah, very fair. It's definitely that lull period. Tito, how about you?
I am struggling between D5 and Legend right now. I don't know what I'm doing. I've forgotten how to play, apparently, but we're figuring it out. I did, however, I had 3 matches this week. I lost very handily this week in my Coin Can See Listener Series match, but I was already out of the running for that anyway, so it didn't matter. I brought some meme decks, and I didn't get a chance to meme because I got steamrolled by aggro, but that was okay. I won my THL match in Pro this week in 4 games, which it felt good because I think I won my first match this season, and then I lost the next 3, so it was nice to get back on track. And then Pilot and I won our duos match on Saturday, and we are actually not eliminated. We're 3-3. But so just looking, and maybe we have the opportunity to get into the playoffs for that. We have a very easy match next week. We're playing Ron Mexico and Brushy Tuna.
Yeah, that's a free win right there.
That's free win. Yep. They're the only undefeated team still in duos.
Oh, man.
So, this is a true David and Goliath story right there. We'll see what we can do. But right now, like trying to just figure out things. I've been taking the opportunity to play some odd decks and also try to find some I tried to make Pain Priest work. I tried to make Pain DH work. I tried to make Rye Cleaver Hunter work. I've settled on Donkey's egg list, which I gave to you. I'm sure you'll talk about that a little bit, maybe. Obviously, some Excavate Paladin because I'm me. But we just got to figure it out, and hopefully get out this week. And So Doc, I know you've been playing Battlegrounds because I saw you streaming yesterday. But what have you been doing besides that?
Well, so I do want to talk about Battlegrounds because Battlegrounds is super fun right now. So I've reached where like my internal MMR is, and so my MMR gain from getting top 4s is very small, and it feels very bad. But I mean, it means I'm at where I'm supposed to be, so I'm getting the most competitive matches. So like that's the fun part. It's just crazy at how good at Battlegrounds some people can be in the very early turns, which is wild. But yeah, I streamed some Hearthstone. I played Battlegrounds for a while, and then Tito gave me, like he said, the Egg Hunter list, and I tried that out for about 4 or 5 games, and I went either like 50 or 60% with it. It's really fun. It's really fun doing Death Rattle copy shenanigans. And then, so I queued up the deck without even really looking at the list, and I very quickly learned that you just try to pop off with King Crush as quickly as you possibly can, or the Hollowed Hound if you're behind. And man, it's just so fun. It kind of felt like Carnivorous Cube shenanigans a little bit by just getting so many copies of the same thing from back in the day in Kobolds and Catacombs.
Yeah.
There we go. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and definitely looking to be playing more standard to try to increase that good old star bonus. Pace, what have you been doing outside of the game?
I started my job recently. I'm working as a teacher assistant right now at pre-K.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's been it was kind of nerve-wracking at first because it's kind of like my first actual job, but so far it's been really fun. I've been enjoying it, and yeah, it feels good to be working.
Kids are a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, they are, but I really enjoy it, so I'm having fun.
How about yourself, Tito?
Well, playing a lot of Pokemon Go still with my kid. He's still interested in it, so that's been a lot of fun. I get him out. I get him outside a lot more often, and we go on the trails, the rail trails, and he knows more about it than I do. It's like, oh, if you want to catch, we got to catch this guy because we have our incense on and this, and we spin around 3 times and do this, and he knows it all. And I'm just like, okay, sure. But we've been doing a lot of that. I'm sure I'll be saying that every week. But outside of that, right now we are prepping my home to be shown because we're trying to do the whole we're selling a house to buy a house, and you have to have your because we have a contingency sale because our house has to be sold in order for us to have the money to buy a house. We have to try to get ours done first, and that means packing everything up. It is a pain in the butt. We're starting to bring stuff to storage, and then we have to live like we don't live here, and it's going to be weird and a pain in the butt. But hopefully we can do it soon, and hopefully I have a better office at whatever place we end up moving to, which maybe doesn't necessarily also have to be the storage for my kids' toys, as they can see behind me. But it's actually, I moved a lot already today, so I'm hoping that get enough in storage and just settle into a role and just chill and be able to focus on finding work, still out there looking. So if you are looking for a software engineer with 20 years Java experience, let me know. I also have some other things, so not going to give you the whole resume here. Want to just tease you a little bit, and we'll bring the steak after we give you a little sizzle, right? So, the Doc, starting the timer. What have you been doing outside of Hearthstone?
Yeah, so been playing a lot of Magic still. It's just a hobby that I have with my friends around, so just a lot of Commander. Actually got done playing Commander today. We played from noon to about 5:30 and watched football games all day as we were doing that because football season started. So that was a lot of fun. I got a win with my wheel deck, which means basically I'm just forcing everybody to draw as much as possible because it helps me with what my commander does. And then the very last game we played, I played an aggro deck, which aggro in a 4-player format is not it's really hard to try to win. So I was playing red, white, samurai, warrior tribal. So what my commander does whenever a samurai or warrior attacks alone, I get to untap that creature and there's an additional combat phase. So I just manipulated combat phases, and then the game got pretty crazy. There was 3 board wipes, a lot of targeted removal, and then it ended up just being me versus a token populate deck, so someone who could just go really wide. But he tapped out, save for 1 creature to kill the remaining player because we were down to 3 at that point. And I top decked Neheb the Eternal while I had Aggravated Assault on board. Aggravated Assault, I can pay 3 and 2 red, untap my creatures. There's an additional combat phase after this combat phase, followed by an additional main phase, which is if you have anything to play, that's when you can play stuff in Magic is during your main phase. And so I top decked and have the Eternal. What he does is whenever a creature I control deals combat damage, I get 3 red mana to play with, and had enough mana up to where I could just infinitely just cycle through combats. And I was able to get through his 1 blocker, and then I just won the game. So that was really fun winning with an aggro deck because it's really not easy to win with aggro and commander because it's usually combo and mid range that win.
So just remember, if you need a translation of what Doc just said, it'll be in the show notes.
Yep. And then as far as other stuff, I got Cortland hooked on Attack on Titan because she had never seen it before. It's a show that I've watched all the way through and that I've read the entire thing. So it's just been fun seeing her freak out at the big drops of stuff that happens in the show.
Yeah.
So we finished season 1 last night, and we watched 3 episodes of season 2 afterwards. It's a good show, and it's fun getting to experience it through someone who's brand new's eyes, especially because of how it's written. I won't go into details to spoil stuff, but the author knew exactly what he wanted to happen every step of the way of the show. So in hindsight, if you ever do a rewatch, you will see all these little details that he's telling you everything that's going to happen, and that what everyone's planning on doing the entire time. You just, as a first time watcher, are ignorant to it because you just are watching the show and don't know these little things that he's leaving. So it's just been very fun to see if she can pick up on stuff and see her guess about what certain people are trying to do. But yeah, that's my life outside of Hearthstone.
I think it's interesting how people that watch anime, they often say things like, and this is one I've watched all the way through. It's like a accomplishment that I've taken this block of anime and I've watched every episode. Like I know Ant that's been on the show before. He's been walking and he watched the entire One Piece and now he's on something new. And it's amazing. It's just like just that's not an uncommon thing, that it's like a big deal to make it through an entire anime.
Yeah, well, I feel like making it through One Piece is a bit harder than making it through Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Slightly different lengths.
Yeah, he was doing it because he was watching it as he was walking to lose weight, and he was like, so he was like, hey, I've done 780 laps while I've watched 350 episodes or whatever it is, and we got to go on that journey with him. And he's watching something new now, and I think he's using a treadmill now, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, enough about anime, enough about former guests. Doc, why don't we get to know our guest here?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. So Pace, what got you started playing video games?
I feel like I kind of started games like how most people start them. When I was a kid, we got a family console for Christmas one year. We got the Wii way back in the day, and it was just that for years and years until my older brother got an iPad when I was maybe like 9 years old, and he downloaded Hearthstone. And since then, that's kind of what I've been playing. And then as soon as I started getting my own iPad and then my phone and my computer, it's been more and more Hearthstone.
So before we go on, our average listener, I think, is somewhere between 35 and 40 by stats. So when you just said my first console was a Wii, I think just about 70% of our listeners just felt really, really old. Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
Was there any particular game on the Wii that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, there were two big ones. So Wii Sports obviously came with the Wii.
Yes.
Played that every day with my brothers, with my parents. We played that all the time. And then Super Smash Bros. Brawl was the one that once
Heck yeah.
we would play at our cousin's house every family vacation, and then once we got it, it was just nonstop.
Awesome. Who was your main in Smash?
I'm kind of embarrassed to say because I found out recently this main is like widely hated for some reason, but I mained Ness just because he was so cool in the story mode. So liked using him.
Yeah, Ness has some very fun combo potential. That's why people don't like playing into Ness. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you found Hearthstone through your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Does your brother still play Hearthstone?
Every now and then he'll play like solo adventures and the dungeon run type stuff because that's his favorite part of the game, but he's never hopping on and playing any online formats.
Okay. So you've been number one legend before. What was that journey like?
I feel like I have two different rank one legend journeys because I did it in Wild back in early 2021. And that was like, my first time getting rank one legend in anything. Felt really good, but it was in Wild, which nobody plays. And it was with a broken deck at the time in Darkglare Warlock. So that didn't mean much to me. But when I did it last year with Naga DH and Standard, that was kind of like the big moment that justified myself kind of being confident in my play and just putting so much time into a deck and finally seeing that number one in that legend slot. Felt really good.
Heck yeah. Have you ever competed in Blizzard esports or Hearthstone esports, excuse me?
Every now and then back in the day when they used to do the Masters Tour qualifiers, I would try to join some of those. I think I had like a 20% win rate in them. That was back when I wasn't a great player. So outside of that, I have not really dabbled in esports, and I would love to at some point in the future. It's just these days, Hearthstone esports aren't really what they used to be, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah. So as like part of the playing Hearthstone hobby, do you stream or make any kind of content?
I kind of like to think of my tweets as content in a way, just because
Okay.
they get a lot of people talking, and I think it's fun to interact with the Twitter community. But outside of that, I've streamed on Twitch maybe like 3 times. My computer right now just can't run Twitch. Like it's old, it's slow, it's kind of breaking down. But once I upgrade, I would definitely be interested in streaming again. So we'll see if that happens.
Okay, awesome. Uh, so you made the switch from standard to wild a few years ago. What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, so I kind of in the start played wild just because I had my account for so long, collected all the wild cards. It was easier to make wild decks. And then over time, due to like them not really doing balance changes in the wild format and then just also not designing cards for wild purposes, the format became less and less enjoyable. And I think most wild players would agree on that. So
Yeah.
kind of starting with Stormwind all the way up until Castle Nathria, I just hated playing wild that whole time. And so I finally quit and just made the transition to standard. And I can say now I'm definitely having a lot more fun playing Hearthstone than I was playing wild.
Heck yeah. Gotta play where the fun is. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite kind of deck to play?
Everybody that follows me on Twitter will probably know this because I'm always talking about it, but I love combo decks that draw a lot of cards and do a lot of damage. So the Naga DH, Miracle Rogue, that kind of deck, I will jam hundreds of games on them.
I had a game this week where I was playing against a Sonya Rogue, and they had their turn where they had Sonya, a cover artist. They had 3 Sonyas, and they had just the poison, deadly poison, deadly poison, deadly poison. We just sat there. I actually get to make some TikTok out of this, but they got all the way to 30. They had lethal. They ran out of time. Didn't get that swing in. I had lethal. Boom. Roasted. Loved it.
Yeah, that's the downside of playing those kinds of decks is sometimes you're just not fast enough and it kind of backfires.
So when you go to find a deck, do you like make the deck yourself or do you find a list you like and just try to jam it and learn it?
For the most part, I definitely build decks myself. I kind of like walk around most days thinking about Hearthstone, which is kind of embarrassing, but I'm always like thinking about card interactions, trying to figure out what works with what. And I find myself just in my collection a lot of the time, trying new things. And often it works. And a lot of the decks that I have success with, like when I hit rank 1 legend both times, it was with the deck that I made. So
That's pretty
it's
awesome.
working out. Yeah.
Pace. I stream Hearthstone almost daily. I have 2 Hearthstone podcasts. Like, why are you saying thinking about Hearthstone is embarrassing? Like, what are you doing to me here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Some of us we play a lot, but maybe for the normal Hearthstone player, they're not as into it as we are.
That might be fair, but I wouldn't be embarrassed by that. That's dedication right there.
So
All right.
so Pace, what is your favorite deck of all time?
I have a couple of decks I want to shout out before I say my actual favorite. I gotta shout out Naga Demon Hunter because that's the deck that everybody knows. Like I feel like that's my deck, and that's the deck I hit rank 1 legend with. So that one's really fun. And then I gotta shout out Darkler
Yeah.
Warlock from the Wild Days. But my favorite deck of all time it's a specific deck. It's Quest Demon Hunter, but after Il'gynoth rotated. So it was a deck that ran Lady Sitheno and Abusive Sergeants, and it kind of just comboed that way. I was the only one playing it for a while, but
Heck yeah.
I had a lot of fun with that deck.
I know your best friend really liked Lady Zethenos and was very disappointed when she got nerfed. Doc's best friend, not yours, Pace.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, good old Storm Rage. So Pace, what's something that people would be surprised to know about you?
I did kind of already spoil it earlier in the episode, but I love working with kids and I work at pre-K right now. I work at summer camps every summer. It's what I'm passionate about, and I'm really good at it too. So I just
Heck
think
yeah.
based off my Twitter personality, like most people wouldn't really expect that. But yeah,
Awesome.
Now, now, do you give your kids like Hearthstone puzzles to think about to help them, expand their minds?
I feel like I would if my kids were slightly older. Like once they start hitting like 10, 11, that's when I could push the Hearthstone onto them. But at this age range, they're just not ready for those combo lines yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Doc, I think it's time to maybe talk about the mini set. What do you think?
Yeah. It's been announced and revealed.
Yep. So between the last time we had an episode and today, the Traveling Travel Agency. Yes, that is right. The Traveling Travel Agency. The cards have been revealed. Has been announced. We have a whole new set to talk about. We have a not a new mechanic. They issued us brochures, which works a lot very similarly to things we've had before, like the chord cards that flip from music festivals of music and Worgans back in the day, where they would change every other turn. This is they flip each turn, so it's like they could be one thing or another. We've seen that mechanic a lot, but they've called it brochures this time, which makes sense. And we got a couple new tourists. I thought now, before we get into it, I really thought we were going to get some kind of neutral tourist that was
Mm.
like maybe you could play a second, maybe you could play the tourist of your tourist or something like that. So if you were a priest touristing into hunter, you could also play the hunter tourist and go into warrior. So like I thought they would do something cool like that, but two different classes got tourists, and I'm a little sad about that. Like I know that we only get a couple legendaries, but it would have been really cool if they would have just said, you know what, every class gets a legendary this time around, and we're gonna have you a new tourist and do a new class. Have fun. Go see what chaos is out there. What are your thoughts on tourists so in this expansion pace? Have you liked them?
So far, I haven't been a big fan just because when it comes to designing the cards, it feels like they have to design every class's set for a different class. So, like when they designed the Demon Hunter cards, you could tell they were doing it with Shaman in mind because of the way that tourism works. And I just feel like historically, dual class cards have just been way better designed than what we've had this expansion.
I kind of liked how they did it on some levels. Like I think like even though it hasn't seen play, I like say like Sea Shanty is the 10 mana paladin card, right? That it gets cheaper every card you play, but it also synergizes almost with what we're going to see potentially big mage or big spell mage, because if you play it into mage, you're not worried about necessarily playing a bunch of little spells, which sounds counterintuitive, but you might be able to playing it as a big spell. So I kind of liked how some of the cards, and not all of them, but some of the cards really seemed like they played on what both sides of the set was trying to do. Like Lanessa was supposed to be like a bunch of, playing a bunch of sunscreens, a bunch of little cards, get that sea Sanchi cheap. And then the big spell with the big card. I don't know. I thought it was definitely, I like when they try things. And like I like the anomalies more than most. I like when they try to do things, and if it doesn't land, it doesn't land. I'd rather them try things and fail and then say, okay, well, this didn't quite work. Let's try something else, than to just stay safe and not try to expand the space. So I don't know. I really liked it. Doc, what are your thoughts on Taurus? Have you liked them or not liked them?
I feel kind of indifferent. I do enjoy when we get like dual class cards. My only, it's not even really a complaint. My only like disgruntlement, I guess, is they're asymmetrical. Like I would have loved having like symmetrical dual class cards, like with Mean Streets Atchison and stuff like that, where they could do it from both instead of just one to a different one, not the other way back. That makes sense. It just was too asymmetrical for me to super enjoy, just because there's there's classes I want to play, but I don't want to tourist into this other class to get cards from a class that I don't like to play. That's just a me thing, and I get that, but I think it's a great idea. Absolutely. Like dual class cards, love them. We'll always love them. They just did it asymmetrically this time instead of more of a symmetrical version.
I kind of wish they opened up the space to like let you tourist and a tourist and a tourist and a tourist. So like, hey, I really want to play this hunter card with this rogue card, and I have to play 7 tourists to get there. My deck sucks, but maybe I can pull this off once in a while. I thought that would have been a lot of fun, but I'm sure pretty hard to balance.
Yeah, going off what Doc was saying earlier too, it kind of feels bad that, for example, if you look at the Death Knight and Shaman classes, they're kind of like similar decks right now, but Death Knight gets to run patches and Shaman doesn't, just because like tourism only goes one way. So I kind of wish they did like open it up so that both classes could play the tourist cards. I feel like that would have been interesting.
Yes, and it's like it's weird. It's like Shaman right now gets to play cards like that. There's actually a Shaman deck out there right now that's playing the card that pulls 2 cards out of your deck and that sends them back in. But Demon Hunter's not playing it because it doesn't have the cards to go with it. But it like it
Yeah.
sucks when what was it called, cliff diving or something like that.
Yeah, Cliff Dive.
Yeah, cliff diving, where it's like, hey, here's my 416 with charge and lifesteal that has Mega Wind Fury, and that goes back in my deck. Or they just evolve it then, and then it doesn't.
Evolve it, yeah.
Yeah, it's gross. But then it's kind of funny when it's like the class that tours into it has use of the card that the class really doesn't have. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I hope they continue to mess around with the space, but we'll see. So let's talk about the mini set, like we said. So the first class we have, let's start with the classes, is Death Knight, and they got 3 cards. They all have 3 cards, obviously. We got Eternal Layover, which is a 4 mana, give all minions reborn, then destroy all minions. You get Soul Searching, which is a 2 mana spell. Discover a card from your deck, spend 5 corpses to copy it. And then 6 mana Travel Security, which is a 6 mana 2/2 minion. Taunt Death Rattle, summon a random 8 cost minion. So clearly we just want to play Travel Security, Eternal Layover. On turn 10, we win, right? No, these cards don't feel good to me. I don't like you look at Eternal Layover and you obviously think, hey, Death Growl, hey, puppeteer, hey, play it all together, but it never works. Anytime you start saying, hey, maybe Death Growl will work this time, it's like kind of like Lucy with the football, right? What are your thoughts on these cards, Pace?
I kind of agree. Like travel security might be good when you randomly generate it off the cheese card, but besides that, you're not playing that. And then Eternal Layover just feels way too memey to be good. But I really like Soul Searching just as like a generically good draw a card, get a copy of it, because that effect is always strong whenever it sees play. Like in Druid, for example, they've printed a couple of those.
Eternal Layover is going to be interesting if you play it with threads.
Yeah, I guess it would be, but also Threads always clears the board anyways, so you don't need any help.
No. Doc, have you looked at, what do you think of the Death Knight cards? Anything popping out at you?
I mean, Soul Searching just seems good. It's a 2 mana discover card, spend 5 corpses, and then you get a copy. Like that's a 2 mana card with 2 upsides. Like I don't think it's bad. I think the 5 corpses is a very easy requirement to hit in Death Knight. So I think it is pretty good.
It's got a pretty major downside though.
Mm.
It's got 2 unholy runes, which means no Reska, right? No, you can play Reska, right? Because it's no, but you wouldn't be able to tap into the Frost. So it definitely limits your deck building there. And I don't think we've seen a lot of double unholy right now, have we? So
Nah.
So if we're thinking about that, what if we're thinking double unholy, what are we looking to double? What are we looking to get a copy of? Discover a copy and get a second copy of it.
So I was kind of theory crafting a seemingly bad deck, but there's a Death Knight card that was released last expansion called Frostbitten Freebooter. It's a 3 mana 2/2 Death Rattle, freeze 3 random enemies, and if any are already frozen, they take 5 damage instead. So and it's a
Yeah.
frost card, so you could run a 1 frost 2 unholy deck, play that card, and then play the 2 new cards, Soul Searching and Eternal Layover, and your entire game plan is just copy that card and copy that death rattle a bunch. Because you only need like 6 triggers and you kill the opponent. So maybe that could be a deck, but I don't know how good it'll be.
Yeah, but to do soul searching that many times, you need a lot of corpses.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I
I don't
don't
know.
know how you get in them, but
So I don't think we're getting a. I mean, aside from whatever pace might develop here, I don't think we're seeing a new deck out of this, and I don't think any of these are slotting into anything. You're going to be happy, like you said, you're going to be happy to get a travel security or some cheese, and I think that's it. Again, we're all just speculating. I'm sure John Bray will come up with something, and we'll all try it and fail. But he'll get
Yeah.
he'll get top 10 legend. We'll fail with it. But let's look on the Demon Hunter cards. We have Demonic Deal, which is a 2-mana spell, lifesteal. Deal 4 damage to a minion. Put a random demon that costs 5 or more on the top of your deck. And that's not pulling a demon up from your deck. That's not saying I have Magtheridon in my deck and it pulls it to the top. That's a random demon. You got a 3-mana 3/3 weapon, Infernal Stapler. I love the theme on that. After your hero attacks, deal 3 damage to your hero. I think you need the tourist for this card, otherwise you're gonna kill yourself really, really fast. And you got Spirit Peddler, which is a 6-mana 6/6. I like the theming there. Rush Death Rattle, reduce the cost of a random minion in your hand by 6. So that's got some nice flavor. I don't see anything here, honestly. What do you think, Pace?
Yeah, I agree. I don't see much. There's obviously like interesting stuff you could do with Peddler and Grasp to draw it and reduce its cost, and then you have the 3-mana spell that repeats a death rattle that already happened. I forget the name of it. But overall, I don't think that card's gonna see play. And then yeah, the stapler kind of just does too much damage to you, and you don't want to be putting cards on top of your deck with demonic deal. So I'm not really seeing anything with these.
Now, what Taurus and the Demon Hunter Shaman? So again, I don't see any of these working with really Shaman either, right? Now, one thing to keep in mind as we looking at these, not every card we see in the mini set is for now. Sometimes they put cards in the mini set because they're like, oh, we wanted to have 12 cards for the next set, or we didn't have room for it theming wise or whatever it might be for the next set. And then we'll find out Demonic Deal was like the cat's pajamas. But right now, it's just not there. What do you think of the set there, Doc?
I think Spirit Peddler will be a really, really good arena card. Same with Demonic Deal, because arena is just all about tempo and getting the cost reduction with Demonic Peddler. Like you can cheat out tempo that way, and then getting a 5 cost to put on top of your deck, especially later in the game when you could have less cards in hand, I think is pretty good. As far as standard, like Demon Hunter just has better things to do than what these do right now. And like I very much feel what you said, Tito, about they also design cards for later, and that kind of seems like what this is. I mean, I'm happy to be wrong by all means, but right now I just think Demon Hunter wants to do different things.
All right, well, let's move on to Druid. Druid has 3 cards. They have the first brochure, which is Ungoro Brochure, which is draw 2 minions, give them +2/+2. It's a 4-mana spell, if I didn't say that. Then it flips to be another 4-mana spell. That first one was Nature. This next one's Arcane. Dalarian Brochure. I used to get made fun of my WoW guild all the time because I cannot say Dalarian the way that everyone else does, but I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with my life choices. This is draw 2 spells. They cost 1 less. I mean, I think in any other class, this card is probably hot garbage, but in Druid, they have so much mana that maybe this sees play in like Highlander or something specific. But it's a tutor, right? So if you limit the pool of what you have a higher chance of drawing what you want, getting them buffed. So maybe there's something there. You also have Handle with Bear, which is a 2-mana spell. Get 2 3/3 bears with taunt that's in your hand. Each turn they are in your hand, they gain +1/+1. And then they have Number Cruncher, which is a 4-mana 2/1 rush taunt, choose thrice, gain +2 attack or +2 health. I don't see any of these seeing play. Handle with Bear seems like, I mean, maybe the brochure in like a Reno. Handle with Bear seems like a worse Patrick Pals number cruncher. I mean, I think the base stats are. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it. What do you think, Pace?
Yeah, we could go straight to Doc with this one. I'm not seeing anything with these cards.
Um, so my wish with the brochures is that they would have generated minions from Onguro and from Dollar and Heists. Because it's the traveling travel agency. Like, I think thematically that would have been more fun. Granted, I do understand there's probably like balancing issues or something with that, but I think thematically it would have made the cards significantly more fun. I also I just love Handle with Bear. Not that I think it's like super great by any means. To not stray from Hearthstone too much, a deck, commander deck I had recently finished is Oops All Bears. So it just focuses on bear tribal, and it's just really fun. So I'm kind of on like a bear kick right now with like just cards in general. And so I just think it's very good.
And we know that Just a Guy thinks his kids never listen to him. So I think they must have been listening to him because they know how much he loves bears in Hearthstone. And they just gave him some extra bears here. Also, I will just say as an editorial comment, even though Druid isn't the best deck to play right now, I'm still seeing plenty of it and I hate it. So good. I'm glad you got nothing. Deal with it. All right. Our next deck. Oh, and the bear tokens you get are called Careful Bears, by the way, which is it's a cute little bear. And the bears are cute, but I'm glad they're not good. Speaking of not good, let's talk about Hunter. So Hunter, we got a 4-mana spell, Monkey Business, which is add 8 bananas to your hand. Any that can't fit are randomly fed to our minions in play. A Workhorse is a 3-mana 4/2 Death Rattle, summon 2/1 ponies. And then you have a 5-mana 3/7 taunt called Cash Cow. Whenever this takes damage, get a coin. That's a bizarre card in Hunter. Yeah. Workhorse, I think, is the only card that I think potentially could see play. And I think that if we were trying to revive like a token hunter archetype with the location and saddle up and whatnot, it's a sticky. It's a good card. I think it's got a good rate to it. But I don't think that we're playing anything that outside of maybe bringing back token that would really want to run it. And I don't think it's enough on its own to merit bringing back token hunter. Pace, what do you think?
Workhorse is a lot of stats for 3, but if you compare it to something like the Handler in Death Knight, the 2/2 with Rush, that just does so much more, and it's a mana cheaper. So even though that card's good, I don't think it's bringing back Token Hunter. And then Monkey Business and Cash Cow just don't feel like Hunter cards. Like maybe you get some cheap spell hunter with like the 2/3 Naga that deals 1 damage anytime you cast a spell, but I'm really not seeing anything with those other 2 cards.
Okay, counterpoint though. Workhorse is wearing a tie and he looks really astute.
Yeah, it looks professional.
And they did answer the question how a horse would wear a suit top.
Oh,
But not how a horse would wear pants.
Yeah, because the horse isn't wearing pants here. The other thing, so maybe like what's the generate the 6/1/1s?
Oh yeah, the 4-mana spell, right?
Yeah, so maybe like Monkey Business plus that can be a potential way to, buff those guys up if you're going wide. I don't know, but I just don't see it off the top of my head. Doc, what are your thoughts besides the fact that the horses aren't wearing pants?
He looks like a classy BoJack Horseman.
I would let him do my taxes.
So I honestly would probably put Monkey Business in that Egg Hunter deck, because from the games that I've played with it, my hand is usually pretty full. So it would just be dumping stats onto my board already. Not that I think that would help it win. It would definitely be like a win more situation. But as far as like from the Hunter deck I've played most recently with these cards, that is the only card that I could see like an upside for of some kind in it. So yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to go in, but I would enjoy it being in, and I'll mute my mic because my frogs are wanting to talk right now.
Whenever his frogs want to have sex is bad.
Yeah. I also think Monkey Business could see play in Amalgam Hunter, which is the deck that tries to buff the 1/2 Amalgam that shuffles itself after it dies.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that deck probably wants every buff in the game. So it'll see play in that deck, but I don't know how good that deck will be.
It'll see play in that deck, but that deck won't see play.
Yeah.
Although I will say it's kind of fun when you can Yodeler the Amalgam, because not only do you get 2 of them, it doubles the attack and health twice on that. So at least that's what I think I saw when I accidentally did it the other day. So it's the Death Rattle is double the stats. So you double the stats twice and shuffle them in. So maybe there's something there, especially with the Monkey Business, but nothing I'm seeing. We will hope that Sidisi figures that out. Sid, please make something fun. So speaking of not good, I'm just kidding. Actually, the one set that looks really promising, I think, is Mage. So Mage is our first Taurus, and it's a 5-mana 4/5 Portal Master Skyla, Rogue Taurus, Battlecry. Swap the cost of the lowest and highest cost spell to your hand. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that you can't play more than one Taurus in a deck. And that means even if you are a mage, you have to pick one of the Taurus. If you pick one, you can't pick the other. So there is a limitation there. You can't play 3 classes. It's sad, but it's okay. So before we talk about the other classes, what do we think about the potential here of the Taurus? I think that, I think this is going to help. This is Belinda. This is not Belinda, but this is the Belinda this version of Big Spell Mage was waiting for. I think that this is going to enable, all we just need to do is give it cash cow and it's good because you get all those coins generated. But what do you think about the Taurus here?
I feel like this is one of the most obvious nerf targets. Like there's no way this card makes it through its entire rotation without getting nerfed, because it's just 5-mana 4/5, make your most expensive spell free. It's just way too good. If you have any coins in your hand, you're playing your tsunamis right away, your volleys right away. And I think a lot of players are going to grow to resent that kind of play pattern, and it's probably going to get nerfed pretty quickly.
Just throw on I can't cost less than 1. We're good. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah.
You excited for Skyla?
No, because mana cheating in Hearthstone is always the most broken thing. It just in every case that you can cheat mana, it's just disgusting. So I'm it's going to be very strong. I'm not looking forward to our Skyla Overlord that we're going to be introduced to very soon. It's fun because you can do degenerate stuff, and that's what Hearthstone's kind of about, is trying to do the most degenerate thing to get you to win. But when you can just make your 7 to 10 cost spells cost 0, is just not. No thanks, Chief. But Big Spell Mage, it's a fun archetype. I enjoy the idea of Big Spell Mage. I just don't think I enjoy it with this level of cost reduction.
Sadly, we're still not going to see Millhouse because Millhouse is just not good enough to even fit into this deck, I don't think. But they have 2 other cards that... What?
I saw it in the Vicious Syndicate report. They put Millhouse in the most recent Big Spell Mage list. So maybe it's good now. I don't know. I haven't played it.
Don't give me hope. So the other 2 mage cards we have are spells. We have a 3-mana spell, which is a fire spell called Burn Down. Draw 3 cards and light them on fire. I think it's going to be the same effect as the Warlock card there that used to burn 3 cards in your opponent's hand. In 3 turns, in 3 turns, any are still in your hand are destroyed. So basically, it's a draw 3 cards and they explode. But I'm assuming that if you're playing something low to the ground or something like that, this is going to be pretty powerful. And we have 7 mana Huddle Up, which is fill your boards with random Naga. Before you get excited, this is not a good Scourge. This is not even close to Scourge because most of the Naga out there are not good, and especially not good for Mage. But I don't know. Maybe you can generate this once in a while, and it'll win you some games or whatever. Pace, what do you think about these other two cards here?
I think Burn Down is just a solid 3 mana draw three. There's no way those cards are like ever getting burned in any type of fast deck. Like you probably don't want this in Big Spell Mage, obviously, or Sith Mage, but besides that, I think every mage deck runs it. And then Huddle Up can maybe see playing Big Spell Mage. I don't know, it's probably not good enough. But I do want to point out we were talking about Big Spell Mage a lot, but the Portal Master can go into any mage deck because it targets your lowest and your highest. So you can have small spells in your hand too. And as long as you run Tsunami and a coin generator, you can play Tsunamis on turn 5 in like every single deck, which is kind of why I think that Portal Master is going to be a bit of a problem. It's not going to be limited to big spell mage. It's just going to go in everything.
What about the rogue portion of it though? Like what are we doing with the rogue cards here?
Probably getting coins. Like a bunch of them generate coins, so that'll be pretty good. And then you have like the rogue minion that's 3 mana and it like discounts your next non-rogue card by 2. So that's probably just good in a Taurus deck. I don't really know though. It's that deck's looking scary, so I don't even want to theory craft it and try to build it. I just hopefully nobody plays it.
Yeah, right. It's like the one new archetype that's going to be out there,
Yeah.
and it's a deck that we've all been pining for the last 6 months. So, your wish of it not being played right there is now. If it's not good enough, I don't think it's not going to be good enough. I think it's going to be good enough. Um, yeah. Um, Speaking of good enough, let's talk about Paladin. So Paladin has 3 cards. uh, they have the 4 mana spell Trustfall. Discover 2 minions that cost 5 or less. They gain each other's attack and health. Busybot, which is a 2 mana 3/2 mech. Battlecry, give all your 1 attack minions +1/+1. And Vacation Planning, which might go well with Busybot, is a 4 mana spell. Restore 4 health. Summon 3 Silverhand recruits. Draw 2 cards. I don't think Trustfall is very good. It's interesting. I don't think you're going to hate to generate it, but I don't think you'll ever run it. But I mean, Busybot, Vacation Planning, that seems like that could go pretty well in some kind of a flood deck. Maybe we can bring back some Boogie Down. I don't know. What do you think, Pace?
Yeah, Vacation Planning is kind of like the modern day muster for battle, where it's just a
Mm-hmm.
generically good paladin spell that you're gonna run in everything. And then Busybot also seems like a really solid card. I know it's kind of awkward to play in a lot of the flood decks because you want to be buffing your minions early on, and then as soon as you buff them, this doesn't work anymore. But I'm sure it'll find a place. And then, like you said, Trustfall seems like good value if you generate it or discover it, but I don't really know any paladin deck that's just gonna be like hard running it.
Now, if this was a holy spell, that might be different because you have some holy spell synergy, but it's classless. So I don't really see it. Doc, what are you thinking? I know you're a big Paladin fan. What do you like? What do you like?
Um, yeah, I mean, I feel the same about Trustfall as the rest of you. Busybot, I think it's gonna be good. Like Paladin just makes a bunch of 1 cost stuff. Like, yeah, as soon as you play it, like it makes that stuff untargetable. But I don't know, like they just make so many things, right? Like I just think it'll be a good turn like 3 turn 4 play to make your stuff that you play out early like better to then like help you find other things. And then board's probably going to get cleared at least once, right? Like if unless you win like super fast, and then if you draw the other one, it's active again. So I think it'll be pretty good. And then yeah, Vacation Planning just seems like a classic paladin card. So I'm pretty high on that one too.
All right. Well, let's move on to Priest. So we have a brochure. I think this is the brochure they give you when you walk in, and they think that you can't afford their normal packages. So this is the one where they just try to like maybe they can afford this. This is like South Jersey. You get the Silver Moon brochure, which is 2 mana, give a minion immune this turn, +2 +2/+2/2. And Gilnea's brochure, which is a 2 mana, silence a minion and give it -2/-2. I mean, we already have like you already have what's the spell there? The
Deafin,
combo one.
right?
Yeah, Deafen. Like, isn't Deafen just better than this?
Yeah.
And then Silver Moon brochure. I mean, that means you're trading and you're not going face, so who cares? I don't think they're good. What do you guys think?
Doc, you want to go? I don't really have many thoughts on these cards either.
Again, I with the brochures flavor wise, I think they would have been better if for each class, like they would generate a different like minions from this like sets. Like Gilneas would have been from which wood, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah. And then Silver Moon, I don't know what expansion that would fall under off the top, but I just feel like they'd be I would enjoy them better if they did that. I don't think Priest wants to. I mean, granted, Silence is just like good utility, but my brain wants to go to Silence Priest, and I know that's not really a thing. It hasn't been a thing for a while, but yeah, like they get some token generation with Job Shadower, and like Pain Priest exists. It is a 4/3. I don't really super like it. And then they get to also like do deck manipulation. With I think Envoy of Prosperity is probably like the one I like the most out of these. Just because deck manipulation is pretty strong, especially when priests can already essentially scry like what's on top of their deck already. So if you don't like what you're going to draw into, you just drop this, and then you get better value from getting something more expensive.
Well, you're taking something from your hand and just putting on top of your deck.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something for now. I think this is a later card because they've been pushing like the scry mechanic and trying to make it work for a while, and it just really hasn't landed. But I think Envoy of Prosperity is pretty good, but it's also just a 2 mana 4/4.
So I think that a lot of the community has been crapping on Envoy of Prosperity with I think good reasons, but I do think that maybe I can't even make fun of you, Doc, because I think that there might be something here. I think if you can get your if you're playing something low to the ground and you have your little 2 fortunes in hand that you got off the 4 mana legendary, and you know what you want to do, and your spells are pretty cheap or whatever like that, you drop something back to your hand. Now you can just maybe like you've burned your hand out, you have an Envoy of Prosperity. Now you just put your acupuncture back on the top of your deck, and now you have 2 more acupuncture or something. I don't know. I just think that there's something here, especially if you want to play low to the ground. I don't think you're trying to get this card to be 1 mana with the other card or anything like that. I think that there might be something low to the ground here because, like you said, it is a 2 mana 4/4. It does have some potential, but returning a card from your hand so you're basically saying, forget my next draw. I'm just give me a card I already know it. So unless you have something very specifically planned for it, I think it. So I don't know. I think there might be something here, but I don't know what it is yet. What do you think, Pace?
Yeah, that was a good shout with the fortune card. Like I didn't even think about that combo. Still, it feels like it's probably not there yet, but they've been pushing this like top of your deck scry thing a bit these past couple expansions. So as they do more support, I'm thinking cards like this are probably going to get better.
And I think the other card, the 3 mana 4/3 Job Shadower, is a undead battle cry. If you hear take damage this turn, summon a copy of this. I think if a pain priest can ever make it, this slots right in. This is a pretty aggressive card. Again, you just do some damage to yourself, and you get 2 4/3s for 3. So it's a lot like and we've had cards like this before, right? We've had not necessarily with the self damage, but like here's a requirement, get a copy of it. If it can work well, it can be work well, but it would have to be in a deck that already kind of like this is not a build around card. This is a make an archetype a little bit better card. And as I've experimented with Pain Priest, it's not quite there yet. All right, let's talk about Rogue. Rogue has some interesting cards. It has Robocaller, which is I'm not even sure I wrapped my head around this card yet. It's a 3-mana, 3/2 mech. Battle Cry. Draw an 8/8/8 cost card. So it draws 3/8/8/8 cost cards, which you're like, wait a second, I'm not going to have 3/8/8/8 cards in a Rogue, but the numbers dialed randomly each turn. So each turn this is in your hand, those numbers change. So it might be a 3/7/2 or a 4/5/7. So depending on what's in your deck, maybe it's okay. I don't know. This card seems fun, but I don't think it's. I think it'd be fun to generate. Maybe you throw it in Mech Rogue if that's still a thing, and I don't know, but I don't see anything with it. And then you have 4-mana Agency Espionage, which is a callback to another espionage card, though the first name of it escapes me. Shuffle
Academic.
a card from academic
yeah.
espionage. This is shuffle a card from each other class into your deck. They cost 1, and then you have 4-mana Sharp Shipment, which is give your weapon +2/+2. Pace, what do you think about these?
I think to get it out of the way, Agency Espionage is unplayable. You never want to add that to your decks. The other two, though, I'm like pretty excited about. I think Sharp Shipment goes specifically into like the Smork Weapon Rogue deck where you're just buffing your weapon and hitting their face every turn. I was tweeting about that deck recently. It's been doing pretty well, so I'm looking forward to that. And then Robocaller is like so hard to judge because we can't sit down, put it in our deck, play it, and see like if it's good or not. Because it might just be every turn like a 6/5/7, 9/9/9, and you're just never going to be able to play it. So I think you need to have a couple 8-mana cards in your deck to make it good off the draw, which I guess the Giants Rogue deck runs the what's called the 8-mana spell that summons 2 4-cost minions. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
There's if you play it in that deck, maybe it's good, but I kind of have no idea how good it's going to be just because we haven't played it yet.
All right, but let me suggest this on the Agency Espionage. How about Playhouse Giants, Gaslight Gatekeepers, and lots of random spells and cards from all other classes? No?
It seems like you're going to fill your hand with bad cards if you do that. I don't know if that's the play.
But Rogue does that anyway. They go out of their way to generate cards that are cheaper with Scorpion. So you do that, except that you just Gaslight Gatekeeper and you're gonna get a bunch of stuff. Some of that stuff's gonna stick, right? There's gonna be a deck out there. Someone's gonna do it.
Someone's gonna get a 15% win rate with that deck, I'm sure.
No. Someone's gonna get a 65% win rate, and the rest of us are gonna get a 15% win rate. That's how that works.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Clark. Let's be honest.
Nah. What do you think? What do you think about the Rogue cards, Doc?
I actually really, really, really like Robocaller. Not that I think it's great. I like the flavor that its initial like dialing prefix is 888. Because that's just like a very common like prefix for spam calls. And then spammers call people quote unquote randomly, like it's off of their lists or whatever. But like I just think flavor wise, like this card's a home run. And I mean, Rogue is always down to like have a card that's a meme that's just going to generate value in some way, and I feel like that this does that because it'll enable you to draw, like, granted you don't control it, but you'll get to draw certain cards. So I think it's going to be a fun card. I don't think it's going to be great, but Rogue definitely enjoys like the meme of itself a lot of the time. So that's it's the one on the most on the bunch. Agency Espionage. Yeah, I don't see where adding 10 cards to your deck that cost 1 is beneficial, because Rogue's not a class that cares about attrition through fatigue. I mean, who knows? Like, they could add something, right, in the later expansion while this is this is in. But right now, this card is absolutely not a thing that I think they would play, because there's better ways to play cards from other classes in Rogue than this.
I figured it out. You don't play it in Rogue, you play it in Mage. You generate the guy that makes the spells cost one less. Then you Gaslight Gatekeeper, and then you just cast all of them for free. The elemental. You can get the 1 out of the 3 elementals. I think one of them makes your spells cost 1 less.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could just run Concierge, and you could do that in Rogue too, and make them all free.
There you go. See, now we're thinking outside the box.
No, Rogue doesn't. No class needs to play things for 0. 0 cost cards are disgusting. Sharp Shipment. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not really a Rogue player. I personally don't think 2/2 for 4 is super great. But I don't play Rogue, so I'm not speaking from someone who has experience playing the class. That's just how that's a lot of mana for not a lot of something. Maybe with buffing a Spectral Cutlass and Wild. Maybe because that's extra 2 life you could gain back.
You do that in Standard.
But
yeah.
Spectral Cutlass is in Standard? Oh god, yeah. I had no idea. But yeah, I don't know. It's a card. It exists. Rogue will find a way to do stuff with it, because that's what Rogue does.
I actually think we're going to see a little bit of Weapon Rogue. I don't even know if you need.
I think we're going to see a lot of Weapon Rogue, honestly. It 2/2 for 4 just on a card looks not super inspiring, looks underwhelming. But I think once you get it played against you on turn 4 and you have 5 attacks swinging at your face, it's going to start feeling a lot scarier.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of potential there. Speaking of potential, let's talk about Shaman. Shaman has our other tourist, and it's a hunter tourist. Turbulus. It's 4 mana, 3/4 battle cry. Give +1/+1 to all other battle cry minions in your hands deck and battlefield. So the thing to remember too is, while Hunter hasn't really seen much play, or the new cards haven't seen a ton of play, they have a very battle cry theme set. So I don't really have my mind wrapped around what we're going to do with those cards, because they really haven't seen a lot of play, but I'm sure Pace has been cooking something up in his brain. Pace, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of agree with the Hunter set being not great for Hunter, but if we look at Overheal Priest, for example, which was the most successful deck at Worlds, it ran a Hunter Taurus package, and it ran a couple Hunter cards. So I think most Shaman decks that aren't the heavy aggro kind of Demon Hunter style decks are going to do something similar. Just throw in the Taurus, throw in a couple generically good Hunter cards, and I think it's going to be pretty successful.
But is it worth doing for Shaman when you're already doing good things with the Demon Hunter cards?
I think for any deck that isn't that token style deck, it's going to be worth it. Because obviously for those really fast decks, the patches and the sigils are all super good, but once you start slowing down your game plan a bit, I think those Hunter cards are going to be a lot more appealing than the Demon Hunter ones.
And it's just going to slot right in. This slots right into Reno, right?
Yeah. Reno Shaman, and then even Nature Shaman, I think, is going to enjoy a lot of the Hunter cards.
Fair enough. Doc, you excited for Shaman Tourist going into Hunter?
Yeah, actually. But I'm also excited for the brochure going into Hunt, with Turbulus, because just thinking of a way to make it work, but you could tourist into Hunter, have Cash Cow. So I've always been a little weird and cheeky with spells, doing stuff to my own minions. I would crab my own Murloc sometimes in Murloc Paladin to get better stats early.
Yeah, but you would forget to attack with the Murloc first.
You mean no? It may have happened once or twice.
I would have forgot.
But it's just a way to get the cash cow to work. I don't think it's going to be super great, and it's something someone would do. Just trying to find a way to make it work, and that's the first thing I thought of when I had seen these. Um, I think shaman getting access to some hunter stuff could be a lot of fun. Just because like aggro with extra aggro potential. I just really like, and then I actually think Ice Crown brochure and Blackrock brochure are probably my favorite brochures. Granted, flavor wise, I still think just they should all generate minions because you're traveling to different destinations. Like, give us stuff from them, and I think that just thematically fits more.
But you're not traveling; you're being enticed to travel. This is what those areas are about.
You get a little taste.
All right. I think one nice thing about the brochures, I don't know. I mean, the brochures I think are fine. I don't think they're meta breaking or anything like that, but they do flop between frost and fire, which will probably be good in a rainbow shaman. Give you a little bit more options there to buff up your Razzle Dazzler. And then you have Hydration Totem, which is a 2-mana 0/3. At the end of your turn, give adjacent minions +1/+1. I mean, I don't think we run it. I don't think we hate if we generate it. I mean, that goes nice after a pop-up book or what's the guy the sigil of skydiving or whatnot. This kind of goes right now. So maybe we do in a more of a hyper aggro deck, but there's probably better things we'd be doing at this point. I wonder how this will affect even shaman and wild. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But any other thoughts on this pace before we move on to the final two classes here and the neutrals?
Not really. I think both cards are probably going to be decent to generate. Like, they're solid cards for 2 mana, but I don't think they're worth any of your deck slots. Even in like Rainbow Shaman, I think the 2 mana AoE is a better fire spell, and then the 5 mana card that summons the 2/2/4s is better for frost. So I don't even know if you want it in there.
Fair enough. All right, so then let's move on to Warlock. Warlock has some cards that they printed. They have a 2 mana tradable spell Deadline, tradable temporary. So this card only lasts 1 turn in your hand. Destroy a minion. They have a 4 mana spell Fine Print, deal 4 damage to all minions. Excess damage hits your hero. Wow, that could be painful. And we have 2 mana 3/2 Employee of the Month. Great flavor. Battle Cry, give a friendly minion lifesteal. I think my first thought of Employee of the Month is it feels like it could slot into a Pain Warlock, and then you can maybe recover. But I think if you're trying to recover, you're probably just, you're not executing your game plan. So as much as it looks like it has that option to maybe help you recover, I think that with Pain, I think Pain's already so refined and that you want to just kind of kill him. I don't know if it does actually work there. But I think time will tell. Like, the concept of it makes sense to me, but then and I think that's one of the things, right? We see these cards, we're like, oh yeah, it'll do that, and then I can play it on my giant, and it'll give me 8 health. But like, no, the whole point of the thing is you're gonna get health down low, and then you smack them in the face, and if you're not successful, then your game plan has failed and you die. And having a card that maybe delays out a turn, does that help? I don't know. And then you have Fine Print. Maybe that slots in the Pain, but I don't think it does. I think we're because it's all minions, and we run some small minions that you want to continue to push forward through. So I don't know. This probably has a home, but I don't think it's here. And Deadline, yeah, I guess maybe. At first I thought it was temporarily destroy a minion, and I was like, wait, you destroy it and it comes back? That wouldn't be cool. That's like red card. But no, I don't know. I don't think any of these. I think Employee of the Month is fine. I think it'll find a home somewhere, but I don't think it finds a home now. And the other 2 cards I think are heart garbage unless there's a deck for them. Pace, what do you think?
I agree kind of with everything that you said. I think the Employee and Fine Print are targeted towards a Painlock deck, but Painlock's just too aggressive right now to run them. I think there's a chance that you kind of build a slower Painlock deck that cuts a lot of the early aggression, maybe, so they could find a home there, but I don't know if that'll be good. And then, yeah, Deadline is worse than the Paladin tradable 2 mana kill spell that's never seen any play. So I don't think that'll see play, but I do think all three of these cards could be interesting in Rogue in some various Taurus decks there. So I think we got to keep an eye out on that because Rogue doesn't really have access to any of these three things at like an efficient level.
Well, I mean, Deadline, I mean, Rogue does have the combo destroy the minion there and all that. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. The funny, I didn't even think about Rogue because when have you seen a Rogue play Warlock cards? They have the Taurus, but when have you seen it? I haven't seen it. Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I see it when they do it in Excavate Rogue and generate it off the Scorpion, but they don't really run the Taurus.
All right, Doc, which of these do you like?
So I like the art of Employee of the Month the most, but I think it's my least favorite card out of the entire mini set because I think Lifesteal being as popular of a keyword is a mistake.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, and it's something Storm Rage and I agree on very strongly. I think Lifesteal being as popular as it is just is not. I don't think it's great. Like, I don't think it's super great for the game. Because it used to be like the 4-mana 3/3 bug from Ongoro was such a good drop because it was like one of the 2 Lifesteal cards that existed, right? But now Lifesteal's on so many things. I don't know. It could just be me not wanting Hearthstone to like change and people gaining a bunch of life in a bunch of classes rather than like expecting a priest to gain life and expecting a paladin to gain some life. But yeah, I just please remove lifesteal from core. That's my thought.
I like Lifesteal.
Me too.
Overruled. All right. So Warrior, bringing up the rear here before we get to the neutrals, has a 3-mana spell called Punch Card, which is a give your hero +3 attack and also damages adjacent minions next turn. So basically gives your hero cleave. You have Reserve Spot, which is a 3-mana. And I know we said we weren't going to do all the cards, but you know what? It's a small mini set, so we're fine. 3-mana Reserve Spot. Give a random minion in your hand +4/+4. If it's the only one there, reduces cost by 2. And Alloy Advisor, which is a 4-mana 2/6 mech with Taunt. Whenever this takes damage, gain 3 armor. I don't think any of these are good. I think Punch Card is fine, but like if you're building up enough attack to clear minion, I think you just want to go face. Reserve Spot, I mean, maybe there's a home for it if you have a like that. I feel like Reserve Spot would be interesting in an Enrage deck or something, but I don't know if it has a home right now either. And Alloy Advisor, I think, is missing Magnetize. And then maybe I'm a little excited about it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling any of these cards. Like, I think Punch Card's a good card. I think that, but I think that it's counterproductive to like what Odin Warrior wants to do right now because we're not seeing a ton of taunts. So I think that if we were facing off against Hydration Station a lot or something like that, then yeah, maybe that makes sense. But I don't think we need it right now. What do you think, Pace?
I think Reserve Spot can go into the deck I brought up earlier, which is Amalgam Hunter, because Hunter has access to the Warrior cards, and that I believe would permanently discount the Amalgam to 0 and give it a little buff. So maybe you can do something with that. And then for the other 2 cards, they seem like solid cards. I just don't think a deck really wants to run them. Like maybe Alloy Advisor sees play in a Rita Warrior type deck because I think the card is stronger than a lot of people think, but it's not a battle cry, so I don't really know.
Maybe it goes in some kind of like a buff warrior, or like you said, maybe a buff hunter too. Yeah.
Yeah, they do have all the taunt buffs in standard right now, so maybe that could be a thing.
I tried running Cup of Muscle in a deck. I tried building. I'll send you the list. I was trying to make a hunter, Buzzard Hunter work again, but I kind of like dipped into Egg Hunter at the same time, and I really got to kind of refine it. So I'll send you that list afterwards. Just remind me. It's not good, but I've won a few games. But maybe something like this could slot into something like that if you're touristing over. Doc, how do you liking the Warrior cards?
Um, Reserve spot on Amalgam does seem like a very, very fun combo. I do really enjoy that. I also enjoy that it's just Manny from Ice Age on a card. uh, but yeah, I mean, that's the only one I'm super excited about. I definitely agree with you, Tito, with like, as a warrior, if you're pumping up your weapon a bunch, generally the correct answer is just go face. Um, like maybe in a taunt warrior mirror, like that card will make more sense because you get to get the cleave effect. I there like I know I've been saying this a lot, but there's potential for these that have been designed for like sets that are coming up, right? So like we'll see. I don't think that they're like bad cards by any means. I just think right now they're not necessarily a thing that the class wants to do with what we have access to.
Maybe punch card works well in an Ignis deck where maybe you have to clear through something and then you get to go through face. So maybe like an Ignis Odin deck where it's like, okay, I'm going to get the Wind Fury weapon and I'm going to build it up and then I'm going to clear whatever's in my way and then go face. So maybe there's a home for it somewhere, but I mean, that's very specific scenario. And that's like if the meta kind of shifts. Anyway, let's start talking about the bait cards. I mean, neutral cards. So we have 5 neutral cards. We have the 3 mana, 3/2 elemental Dream Planner Zephyrus, which is the return of Zephyrus. No Reno requirement. Battle Cry. Choose a travel tour to get 2 potentially perfect cards from it. And you get to choose either from 3 different tours. One is the Extravagant Tour, which gets 2 random cards that can potentially spend a lot of mana. Apparently one of those is Ice Block. Hectic Tour. Play 2 random cards that could potentially deal damage to the enemy hero, which could possibly be a 1 mana spell. I don't know. I haven't seen the pools of these. And you got Modest Tour, which is gain 2 random cards that can potentially impact the enemy's battlefield. So I think this card is fine. I think that it will see some play. I think it'll see a lot of extra play where it doesn't belong. I think it'll be fine in an elemental deck. I think people are going to want to play it, and we're going to see it a lot more than we should. But I think it's a fine card. I think it's a good way to do Zephyrus without rewriting the Zephyrus algorithm for the future. What do you think?
I think it's funny that it doesn't have the Highlander requirement because I feel like those are the only decks that are going to play this card. It's just like a generically good 3-drop that gets you 2 cards. Seems solid, but besides arena decks, I don't really know what you're putting it in. Maybe elemental, like you said.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice card for an elemental deck, right? You get especially there's been some elemental shaman. Elemental mage is completely dead. So, Doc, you excited for some Zephyrus?
No, but yes. I think the addition of the word potentially is super fun. Specifically, it's probably because of the first Zephyrus, and they got tired of responding to people on Twitter like, this is why it didn't give you this card because it saw this board state and figured out this other thing in the values we gave it to like calculate. I remember seeing Celestial on reply to a lot of people being like, nope, it gave you the right choice of card. Like it was perfect for what it calculated for. It wasn't perfect for what you wanted it to be perfect for. So they threw potentially in there so people wouldn't get hung up on the word perfect. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun card. I don't think it's going to be like a super great card, but I mean, getting 2 cards that could help is better than drawing 2 cards that won't help.
Yeah, but if you build a deck, you'd rather have the cards you put in your deck to do the things you want to do versus 2 random cards that may or may not be able to help you.
Yes, but you're also never guaranteed to draw the cards you want to draw in your deck. So getting the generation, I think, is what makes this card like good, is you generate 2 cards. If they help you, that's the upside, right? If they're not the potentially helpful cards, it's just two cards that you could maybe try to fit in. If they are the helpful cards, then like great, like they'll help you. I think it's okay. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's like super good.
All right. I screwed up a little bit, guys. I know we're on to neutrals, but I just found one more Druid card. This is Travel Master Dungar, a 9-mana 3/3. It's actually just a neutral card, but it's only going to see play in Druid if it sees play at all. Battle Cry, summon 3 minions from your deck that are from different expansions. I like the theming. I like that it's kind of like going over, and just so you know, Core counts as its own expansion because it's looking for different watermarks, so you can play something in there. But this is a 9-mana 3/3. Will it impact the board? Yes. Will it impact the board too late? Yes, unless you're Druid. What are your thoughts here, Pace?
I think it's such a powerful effect that part of me is like, this has got to be good somewhere. Like 9-mana 3/3, but you get 3 specific cards. Seems so good.
If
I
you haven't
just
drawn them.
don't know. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if in practice it's really gonna
Yeah.
make the cut anywhere. You just like, I was looking at the collection earlier, trying to figure out like, oh, this expansion, is there only like one good minion? And it turns out for Druid, a lot of expansions have like good cheap minions that you want to run, which doesn't synergize with this card.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could
Yeah.
like discover the expansion that you wanted to pull from, I think it could maybe be better. Like if you said, I want to get a core card from my deck, I want to get a festival card, but it's random expansions, right? So I just don't really see this being too good in any type of Druid deck or any other deck.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better if it was like a 3-mana 3/3 Battle Cry, summon 3 random minions
Well,
from
that's
3
just
random
insane
expansions.
to do that on 3.
Well, my 3-mana 3 cost minions or something. So
Well,
I don't know.
I know where you're getting at. It's such a strict deck building restriction. That's the thing. Is it's either you run cards exclusively, essentially exclusively from one set, and then you pick you pick 3 specific minions that are the only targets for this. And that's if you don't draw them. So I think it'll be a fun meme. I don't think it'll be good.
Which brings us to our next card. Carnivorous Cubicle, 5-mana 4/6 Battlecry, destroy a friendly minion. Summon a copy of it at the end of your turn. This card is such bait. This is you know the meme that's got the guy pointing upwards at the tweet above it saying that's bait. This is bait. This is not a good card. This is like this.
I love this.
This is giving hope to people that want Carnivorous Cube back, and they're not going to get what they want. It's just not. I don't know what you even want to do this with. I mean, maybe if you Death Growl. This is one of those cards where you like start trying to plan out. Well, maybe no. When you have to start chaining cards together and thinking, it's usually not a good sign, right? So, what do you think about this one, Pace?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the nail. Like Carnivorous Cube on its own was gonna get value just because it, no matter what, would summon 2 copies of the minion. So it was like a strictly good card on its own, and on top of that, it was good when you paired it with other things. This card just seems like worse on its own and worse when comboed with other cards. So I don't know. Maybe again, Druid could do something because they have a lot of mana to work with, but I don't know. I don't really see the vision. Maybe with the Egg Hunter that you guys were playing, you could do something too. I'm not sure.
And that is like the only place where it could possibly work, right? But even still, it's not like there's no death rattle here. There's no. I don't know. It's like
you target a death rattle, and then you get an extra one at the end.
Sure, but then that's at the
and
end.
Your opponent doesn't have a chance to
done.
Your opponent doesn't have a chance to interact with it before the upside happens. Carnivorous Cube, like your opponent could interact with it. They could have silenced it, right? Like, I don't know. I'm really high on this, and I could be super baited, But I think getting the ups, granted, it's at the end of your turn, and I understand you don't get to like utilize it, but you get the upside before your opponent can interact. And in a game where Hearthstone, where turns are not simultaneous within like having interaction, like with Magic at like instant speed, getting anything that your opponent can't interact with, like right away, I think is good. So like the original Carnivorous Cube, like they could silence it on their turn, and then you don't get the upside at all. This, you get the initial death rattle upside, because you're going to target a death rattle minion with this. There's no point in targeting anything else. And then you get an extra copy of whatever the thing is. Like, I could be super baited, but I just can't, I cannot not love this.
Fair enough. But yeah, Doc, you're baited. So our next card, is the card you're going to hate drawing off of Cheese. It's the 3-mana 2/4 Clumsy Steward. After any card is drawn, make it temporary. This card is going to be so infuriating when it happens to generate it. I don't think anybody, but except maybe like a Control Priest, is ever going to play this. But even Control Priest is going to want to play it because they're going to want to have the cards in their hand. I don't know. I think this is one of those cards that's just going to really, really just make you mad when it pops up, but I don't think you ever play it. What do you think, Pace?
Yeah, I think it's teetering on the edge for me of like cool tech card and then really annoying tech card. I'm kind of gonna have to like see how it feels to play against to categorize it. But yeah, seeing the opponent generate this is gonna be kind of annoying. The one nice thing is it's a symmetrical effect, so both players are getting screwed that way. It's not just you. So I guess that could be fun. And then also like in Demon Hunter, you could play this, and then if you have a not outcasted Paraglide, you force your opponent to draw 3 cards. So you could do some cool stuff with it, but I don't think any of those decks are going to be good. It's just going to be a lot of memeing around at lower ranks for a bit.
And I think that like what looks good with this card is if like I play like maybe buffed up Ziliax Battlecry, make another Ziliax, drop the Clumsy Steward next to it. They don't have that removal in hand. They ain't getting that removal, right? So, it prevents the top deck, or I guess it really doesn't but
yeah, they could just.
It's a problem, right? Deck, yeah. Well, if they have enough mana for it, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like what would it's going to drive you crazy when it works. When it works, it's really going to drive you nuts. And then we have. I'm sorry, Doc. Any thoughts on the Clumsy Steward?
Yeah, this is essentially Mesmeric Orb in Magic for Hearthstone. So Mesmeric Orb is an artifact that every time you untap a card, so in Magic, to spend your mana, you have to tap it. So say you tap 5 mana to do 5 mana worth of things. If you don't want to swing with your minions, at minimum, you're milling the top 5 cards of your library. Like, this is the closest effect that we can get to that. Granted, I don't think we have any way to like super like make this like toxic in the sense of we don't have a lot of forced draw for your opponent right now. The fact that temporary is bolded in keywords makes me worried for future stuff that they're planning. Because they have, like we've said, they haven't been afraid of using a mini set to slow introduce something that's going to be supported later. And so this is a keyword they're playing with. And so this makes me very worried for like permanence in Hearthstone in the next for like the next year and a half. So we'll see. I don't like this card at all. It's a very feels bad card, and it's if you play this against me, I won't like you.
So Busy Peon is a 2-mana 2/3 death rattle. Your next location costs 2 less. This is garbage. The only if it was a battle cry, maybe you could say like, hey, I want to get my Horizon's Edge down early and really kind of get aggressive. But even then, I don't think this would be any good. I'm surprised we haven't seen anyone really kind of make an effort to make a like a druid. There's better things to do in druid, but like some kind of giant. You get the the location giants and some
Yeah,
kind of deck
yeah.
with that. I'm really surprised I haven't seen anybody try to cook anything up with those. And I was like, well, this won't even fit into that because they're death rattle, and like, why would you kill it? Like, just leave it there. I don't know. I think this is just garbage. What do you think?
I will say I did try a lot of those Seaside Giant Druid decks, and I think the reason other people didn't is because it just doesn't work out that often. Like sometimes you draw the Giants, you don't draw the location, and you're sad. But I think this card could be good in some different decks just because we have so many good locations in the game now that like if you squint your eyes, it's kind of a 0 mana 2/3, maybe. So it might see play in some deck with a somewhat expensive location, like the Prison of Yogg-Saron. If that goes to 5 mana, suddenly it's like a really good card again.
Still a good card. It's just people kind of fell out of favor, right? I mean, I still love Yogging people when I can.
Yeah, me too.
But Doc, how
Um,
busy is your peon?
not busy because I don't think I'll play this. Granted, I don't play like a bunch of locations anyway. Um, I don't know. I mean, there, not that there's a home for everything, but I feel like that this is going to see some play. I don't think it's going to be like a super great card, but getting again, cost reduction in Hearthstone is such a big deal. Especially like making like Yogg like Prison of Yogg-Saron cost 5. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. So like it'll see play. I don't think it'll be I don't think it'll be great, but it'll do some stuff. It'll have some time.
No, you just play it with you play the 1/4 first that gives your Death Rattle minions reborn, and then you kill it twice, and then your Prison Yagos.
Don't put that evil out in the world, Tito, because now that's gonna happen to somebody.
Of course it will. I'm gonna try it. Probably not. Anyway, so I that was a lot. I mean, although pretty quick for us, I think. I actually at pace. I like you. You agree with me a lot. This is something that doesn't always happen. So welcome back anytime. But Doc, I think I'm full. But how about some dessert? What do you think?
Yeah, dessert sounds great. So Pace, what is your favorite dessert?
Ooh. It's kind of basic, but I really like a good mint chocolate chip ice cream. I'm probably gonna have
Heck
some
yeah.
after this actually.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I like that one. So Pace, where can people find you?
They can find me at Pacey Guy on Twitter. That's with 2 C's in Pacey. Kind of weird spelling, but I'm very active on there, always sharing my opinions. Sometimes they're not super popular when it comes to Hearthstone, but I love kind of engaging with the community on there. So I recommend following me. It's fun.
Yeah. Tito?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and TikTok. And if I'm somewhere I'm not, just let me know. I'll get there. Doc, how about yourself?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Doc McButt. And listeners, we do ask you to please leave us a review. If you feel so inclined, we would prefer a 5-star review because it helps with visibility. But honestly, rate us honestly. Let us know how we're doing because we want to make the show the best it can be for us and the best it can be for you. And that's how we figure out how we're doing and what you would like to see or hear. Primarily hear for now, see for later. And if you leave us a review or email us at our email, we'll read it out on the show.
Two thoughts on that. One, please do. But two, just tell one person. Let someone know, hey, this is a good show. You should listen to it. Tell one person. We'll grow. Appreciate that. And also, if we ever get a Patreon going, I make sure that we have a bonus tier that if we hit it, then Doc can do a magic podcast as a bonus episode once a month on his own and do all that magic talk right there. What do you think, Doc?
Hey, I'd be okay with getting to talk more magic. So Pace, do you have any shout outs or anything you'd like to promote about what's going on for you?
Not really. I mean, I already shouted out my Twitter, so that's about it. Shout out actually Chelsea Football Club. The Prem season just started. They're my favorite team. You know, everybody wish them good luck. Have them in their prayers because they're gonna need it. But yeah,
Doc, how about yourself?
Yeah, so first and foremost, Pace, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've been a pleasure to talk to. Getting to hear what you how you evaluate cards. Evaluating cards is always a fun thing. It's always a hard thing because it's always in a vacuum because we don't get to experience it until it's out, unless theory crafting happens. But they don't do that for mini sets. So thank you. It's been a fun time.
yeah, it's been really fun for a first podcast. This was great, and you guys made me feel comfortable. We had a lot of fun on here, so thank you guys for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do also want to say I forgot one thing in my life outside of Hearthstone. I dinged 80 in WoW. This happened like 5 days ago. So now I've just been doing dungeons to get ready for raid that comes out next week. Or yeah, technically next week. Or this week now. But yeah, how about yourself, Tito?
I'm going to shout out Smarms, who's doing a subathon right now as we speak. And
is it still going?
Oh yeah, it's still going. In the first like half an hour, she got a lot of subs all at once, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was crazy. Right now, she's playing some Baldur's Gate, I think, right now, and just to do things like that is a lot more work than people think. But one of her tiers, if she gets 666 subs, she'll finally send me my T-shirt from the Bone Zone. So please go hit that. Go hit that. Just go send her money. We appreciate that. But guys, I think we're toast. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.